Hi everyone, welcome to the Basic Stitch podcast. I'm Celine, your host, coming to you from Hong Kong. I can be found on Ravelry as Ochia, Occhya, and on Instagram as basic.stitch.knitting. As you may have noticed, I have renamed this podcast from Basic Stitch Knitting Podcast to Basic Stitch Podcast. And I was recording the introduction for this video and I couldn't stop myself saying Basic Stitch Knitting Podcast because it's just rolled out my tongue easily out of habit. The reason behind the renaming is quite obvious, and that is I finally dipped my toes into something other than knitting. There's so many things to catch up because I haven't been recording for a long time. Very simply, the reason why I haven't been recording for a long time was because I lost my knitting mojo completely due to different reasons, things going on in my life or the weather in Hong Kong. Last year we had really warm winter. I couldn't even wear like any of my knit stuff. Lots of different reasons, so I just didn't knit at all, and having to force myself to knit and talk about knitting content or even just, go through yarn, it just felt very not genuine to me. It felt dishonest to myself and also to you, the audience. So I decided it's best that I stopped recording until I actually feel like knitting or making again. Luckily, for some reasons, I started to feel like making again. And it started with some sewing mojo. I was very interested in looking at sewing patterns and sewing videos. Didn't do a lot sewing though because my sewing machine is over at my parents' place and I have to stay long enough every time for me to do the whole sewing thing, to cut the pattern, to print the pattern, to stick the patterns together, because I'm doing machine sewing and not hand sewing. It's not very portable and it requires a longer chunk of continuous time. I'm sure you all know that if you are both a knitter and a sewist. I actually recorded a review pattern for my first garment, and I'm going to put the link up here, or here. I think it's probably here. It is, I don't remember the name of the pattern. I'm going to get my note for that time. So the pattern is Butterick 5708, and it's a 1950 inspired dress, and I made it in red. I specifically made it for a ball, charity ball I was attending at the time. I wish there were more occasions for me to wear that kind of dresses. It's definitely very beautiful because it's not something that you can get in stores. And I think that's basically my direction, at least it's my aspired direction for sewing mainly, and that is to sew things that I can't easily get in a store. There are people who make t-shirts, which is fine, but I wouldn't want to do it myself. And if there are things that I can easily get from a store and I love it, for example, I always get my t-shirt from Uniqlo, then I probably won't make it myself. And during this period of time when I wasn't uploading any podcast episode, I also uploaded another video, which is my travelogue for my trip to Taiwan. I took a solo trip to Taiwan at the end of November this year, 2019, because I wanted to go watch a concert. That is the craziest thing I've ever done on that front, because I'm not a crazy fangirl. I'd no longer buy merch or like spend lots of money on a band or singer I like. I'm more like the kind of quiet fan who sit at home and listen to the music and taste the lyrics instead of, I'm not sure. This is not the type of good fan that, an artist would want. They definitely want people to be spending money to support their art, right? So anyway, what I'm trying to say is there's a singer that I really like. He wrote and composed a lot of songs, and he was the vocalist for a band that I really like called Ysolda. They're Taiwanese. Actually, growing up, I listened to a lot of Taiwanese song, and a lot of my favorite singers, artists are from Taiwan. And this particular singer I'm talking about is called singer, composer, poet is called Lᵒᵛᵉᵧ. He was doing solo performance since 2018, late 2018, I believe, because the band Soda Green is taking a break. The reason why I felt the urge to go to Taiwan to watch the concert this time was because there is a term called serendipity in English, and to me it almost feels like, you know, the universe giving you signs and the stars are aligned when you get a lot of different signs pointing towards the same direction. And for me, when I listen to the songs of this singer, Lᵒᵛᵉᵧ, and then when I read the lyrics, I just felt so understood, and then I felt something that was like troubling me for a long time. There might not be any answers in the song or lyrics, but it is a direction. It's like naming your problem. You know, sometimes you have lots of problem or, you know, unconscious worries and you don't even know about it, but then someone basically pointed out for you. And yeah, and during the trip to Taiwan, I actually met different people, and I didn't, you know, actively told them what I was going through. But in the process of conversation, I just realized that we're all going through very similar things, like taking a break from a career, wanting to look for the true nature of life. Is it what I'm the term in Chinese is 本质, like 本质 in Mandarin, and that is the original state of life or the purpose of life. I don't know, that gets a little philosophical, and that's not the purpose of my podcast today. I just want to say it's a very good feeling when, you know, things are aligned and you feel like things are pointing to in the same direction. It may not necessarily solve your problem right and, you know, there, but then it makes you feel like things are turning, things are changing in a better direction. And that's really what I need for 2020. 2019 to me was a year where things were really... I was very miserable because of my career, because of my work, and but at the same time I was pushing myself to tolerate everything, to make myself think this is normal, everybody goes through this, you just have to tolerate it, and until, you know, a breaking point, and I just can't stand it anymore. If you're going through a tough year in 2019, like for me, it was 2018 and 2019, like 2 years of tough years so far. If you're going through difficulties, I hope 2020 is better for you, for all of us. Maybe pay attention to signs and serendipity in life and see if, you know, things are going to turn in a better direction for you. So when I was in Taiwan, I didn't plan anything. I didn't plan for a crafty trip to Taiwan. I definitely wasn't doing like, oh, I need to do yarn shopping or whatever. Because like, I think I Googled it before, like places to buy yarn in south of Taiwan, but places are so kind of not concentrated, and I didn't feel like going to different spots just to buy yarn or look at yarn, because I'm actually imposing a yarn ban on myself because I do have a lot of yarn and I wasn't even knitting enough to justify extra purchasing. So decided not to do that. But if you click in this link or later, I'll just put the link down below because I don't want you to stop watching this video and click at that link right now. If you watch my video of my travel to Taiwan, you'll see it was actually unexpectedly crafty. I tried indigo dyeing for the first time, and I bought 4 skeins of yarn, and they're all made in Taiwan. Mainly plant-based, I think, because Taiwan, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't really have a very big, you know, animal farming industry, like sheep farming industry. Yet they do grow nettles and hemp and hemp, I'm not sure about. In Taiwan, there are actually a lot of different groups of indigenous people, and some of them still retain their original art of, like textile art. So I feel like if I'm going to Taiwan again, I definitely am going to make a better research, or probably go to where the sources are to learn about their textile art. So now please allow me to show you the yarn that I bought from Taiwan, and these are all of them. So the first yarn I'm going to talk about is this. I bought 2 skein of them in 2 different colors. And focus. This is called wool and aloe yarn, and aloe means nettle, but probably something different from the nettle yarn we're thinking about. It's like a species of nettle. It's not stinging nettle. It's the type of nettle that's made into yarn in Nepal. This is handmade in Nepal, and it says here that it has been used for more than 1,000 years in Nepal for making clothes and garments, and also fishnets. Of course, we're just talking about the aloe yarn, not the wool. This is a mix of wool and nettle. This is 75 gram and 150 meter. The brand is called Twine Fair Trade, and it's a Taiwanese brand. And if you're interested in this wool, you can definitely buy it from its website. Let me show you the close-up of the texture. Oh, it's too dark. Okay. The label doesn't really tell me how many percentage it is in wool or aloe. So this is the first skein of yarn that I bought. I bought it in a department that was selling a lot of made in Taiwan products, and I went to the top floor. I totally didn't expect this. I totally didn't expect to buy any yarn, and when I saw them, I was like, you know what, I'm in Taiwan, it's made in Taiwan, and I've never knit with aloe yarn before, so maybe I should just buy 2 very easy to use color. According to the salesperson, 2 skeins are enough for a hat, but I thought, yeah, maybe like 1.5 skein of it would be enough for a hat. And I wanted to, whenever I'm trying a new yarn, I always want to buy different colors. I don't know why. I should have just bought like 2 skeins of this this yarn, so that I can complete a consistent project in it. But I'm just very tempted to try different shades. And then the second type of yarn that I bought is this. It's 100% hemp, I think. I actually wrote it in a notebook. I have everything around me now. This is my travel notebook when I was in Taiwan. A pen, and I didn't even finish the book. So, because I was only there for a few days. So I just referred back to my handmade notes, and it says it's Huangma. They are Huangma, and Huangma, I just googled it. It's Jute, Jute, and I believe this is not my hair, is it? It's someone's hair, maybe mine. I was kind of worried whether I was like pulling out like the fiber from the yarn itself. Yeah, I bought again. I always choose 2 different shades when I'm trying new yarn. It doesn't come with any labeling because it's not mass produced, even though it's machine spun. It's not handmade, this one. And it's not natural coloring either. I made sure I asked. It's 100% jute, and I think it's definitely not a garment material. I don't know what I'm going to make it into yet, but I just wanted to try more plant-based yarn when I was in Taiwan, so yeah. I personally don't have a lot of experience with knitting with plant-based yarn, but I think that might be a good direction if I'm going to try something new. I love woolly yarn. If you are a regular viewer of this podcast, you would know I love woolly, woolen spun, sticky yarn, like Holst, Garn, Supersoft, that kind of yarn. Like, I love it. And apparently plant-based yarn doesn't share similar properties. They're very, very different from sticky wool yarn. But like nettle yarn, jute yarn, linen yarn, hemp yarn, I feel like if we find a way where we can incorporate them into our knitting life more, it's good for the earth. Or maybe I should rephrase it as, if you like to use cotton a lot, and if you can't always make sure your cotton production doesn't create a lot of pollution to the world, because we all know a lot of pesticides are used in cotton production, maybe switching to other plant-based yarn like jute, nettle, hemp, linen is a good option. I know they're not direct replacement, because hemp yarn, jute yarn, it's quite rough. But say like linen yarn, sometimes they can be quite soft if you wash them enough as well. So that's just my thoughts, and I haven't even started my experiment with plant yarn, so I won't say anything further until I actually knit with these yarn. So I have been knitting, albeit not a lot. All of my very active projects are all in this bag. You might have seen this bag on my Instagram before. This is a project bag given to me by my friend Valerie, and Valerie is knitting on Instagram, and you can also find her on Giant's Fibre Arts on Instagram. She is a designer and also maker of this bag. This bag is called Singlet Bag. I am actually packing it to, I wouldn't say it's really full. Let me show you what's in there. So it's not that full. I have, I think, three projects? Two projects in it. I have currently 2 projects in it. I think usually I have 3. But I have just finished 1. I don't know. Yeah, because I don't want to put like different project in different bag and then bring like 2 to 3 bags whenever I go out. If possible, I will want to put them all in a single bag, and this one is definitely big enough for that purpose. It looks tiny, but it feels like it's Hermione's bag, as in it looks tiny, but it can carry a surprisingly amount of yarn in. A surprisingly number of projects in there. Valerie visited Hong Kong a few months ago, I think. I don't remember. And we spent quite a lot of time together, and she gave this to me, and I was so happy. She was like giving me she put this in a paper bag, and then when I opened it, I was like, oh. This is actually the second bag she gave me. She gave me a test bag before that. She was, you know, like testing different sewing technique for bags, and then this is the second bag she gave me, and I'm so happy because it's so pretty. You know, when you hold this, say for example, you don't always have enough space in your bag. Like recently, I always go out with my canvas bag that I very strangely reviewed in my Taiwanese vlog to Taiwan, not Taiwanese vlog. That is very strange. Like my friend was like saying, I basically lost attention at that point, because who wants to watch a review about canvas bags? Like, I'm just weird. Anyway, this one is quite big, right? And but sometimes when I'm moving from one house to another, like going to my parents and I have to bring a lot of things here, or the other way around, I just, you know, fill this to the brim, and then I don't have space for this bag, and I just carry it like that separately in the street, and it looks fashionable. You know, if it's just a drawstring bag, you know, no problem with drawstring bag, but it's just not as cool, you know, when you're walking in the street just like this. It's very fashionable. If you're interested in getting this bag, you can go to Valerie's website. I will put the link down below in the info box. Or if you're a maker, if you're a sewist, you can actually buy its pattern and sew this bag yourself. It comes in, I think, at least 2 different sizes, and I actually have the pattern. I should actually try to sew it. I am considering a sew along if you are interested. It's just like forcing myself to keep sewing, you know, because I have a sewing machine and it's better that I use more of it. So now let's look at what's in it. It's not very exciting, mind you. So the first project I saw is this one. It looks like a very, very basic, you know, beginning of a sweater, knit in flat. You know, ribbing and then lots of garter stitch here. But it is not a sweater. It is supposed to be a bonnet. Not for me, but for my brother's baby. The pattern is called Barely Bonnet on Instagram. The pattern is called Barely Bonnet. Is it actually Bonnet? Because I spent my life pronouncing it as Bonnet. But yeah, well, it does look French. So Bonnet. If it's wrong, I'm going to correct myself next episode. Supposedly, according to the pattern is called Barely Bonnet. Again, if I didn't say that clearly just now. From some point onward, it will be turned into like a knitting in the round, finishing here, and then attaching 2 I-cords, and then knit separate ears for the bare part of this, and it's gonna be stinking cute. And knitting it in like ecru yarn, like cream original color yarn, just makes it feel extra innocent and pure and cute and sweet for the baby. I will not necessarily want to knit anything like garment for myself in this color, but it's fitting for a baby. Which brings me to my Instagram post. I actually post about the color ecru or original color of the yarn, mainly cream or off-white, and ask people about their relationship with yarn color, you know, like this. Because to me, I've always only treated it as a background color for, say, when I do color work knitting, or a background color to other brighter color like blue or yellow. Actually, I think them to go really well. So originally I actually planned to knit something, maybe a pair of mittens. I originally wanted to put them together, like this is the main color, this is the background color. And that's my relationship with, you know, cream yarn, off-white yarn is always the background color. But I've been looking at Instagram posts by a lot of like Japanese knitters and Taiwanese knitters, and I feel like they use a lot of original color yarn. When I say original color, it could be brown, it could be gray, but here I'm mainly talking about cream. So maybe I should just say off-white or cream yarn. It just looks very, I don't know what's the word. It's something, you know, it looks very satisfying for want of better words. And I guess this is maybe my introduction to using my introductory project to using more of this color as a main color of the project. But of course, I definitely shared the feeling with my friend Jo, who replied in that Instagram post as well. And she said she'll never use this kind of yarn, this kind of color as the garment color because, you know, it's just not very practical. And I agree with that 100%, because if I wear like a sweater made of cream yarn, I probably wouldn't be eating that day. Like definitely no soup noodles. And I really love soup noodles. And funny thing is, in Hong Kong, we always call it soup noodles because the main thing is the noodle, not the soup, right? It's just noodle who happen to be in soup. But I know in English, in the West, it's called noodle soup. Like, it's a soup with noodles. Which is mind-boggling, but whatever. It's okay. Like, what I'm trying to say is, if I ever wear a sweater using this kind of yarn, I won't be eating noodle soup. Or spaghetti, for that matter. Anyway, coming back to the pattern, to the project. A relatively boring pattern. I mean, no, sorry, it's not a relatively boring pattern, but it's like a relatively simple project. and it's very quick knit. If you're knitting for Christmas, for a baby or a kid, a child, please look at this pattern. It's so easy. The pattern actually asks us to do this part like flat, and then we do it in a circle, in a round, right? But I think because I don't want to do a lot of purling for this, and because if I change into, you know, to knit in circle and do knit and purl to continue with the garter stitch pattern, the tension will change, because right now I'm knitting on every single row, but when I knit it in a circle, it will be knit and purl. The tension will change, and it might change the appearance a little. So I actually feel like I'm going to follow the pattern without knitting in the circle. I'm just going to knit it flat, and then in the end I'm just going to weave or sew the part together, like where it's supposed to be knit in the round. This is first project, and then the next one is a pair of socks. I have already finished the first one, and the first one is, I hope it's here. No, it's not here, it's at my parents' place. I can show you next episode when I knit more of this. But in short, this is Drops. It's Drops Fable, and I'm knitting it with 2mm DP ends from Knit Pro Zings. And I really enjoy knitting with DP ends, like knitting socks with DP ends. I used to be a magic looper, but when I knit with DP ends, I was having fear for DP ends, but once I start to use DP ends, I realized it's not that difficult, and also I love the feeling that it's like going on and on and on and on, because I don't really like to pull the needle back into the stitches anymore, because a lot of time the jog is not very smooth for the needles I'm using. So I'm not sure who this sock is gonna be for, because it's slightly too big for me and too small for the men in my life. When I say the men in my life, I mean my brother, my dad, and my boyfriend. They all, the size for their feet are very, very highly similar, so too small for them, I guess. And this is the first time I use a 2mm needles for socks. Usually I use 2.5, and I wanted to go down a size because I want a denser fabric, and because of that I cast on more stitches, because I felt like I need to compensate the denser fabric. I think this is 60 stitches. Apparently it's too big for me, so yeah, it might be, I can give it to my friends or just whoever can fit into this pair of socks. Inside this bag, I also have a little box like this. It's a box where I put all the things I need on the go when I'm knitting. A pair of scissors, a safety pin. I use it for different, you know, purpose. Sometimes keep some stitches together, or sometimes I don't use this as a stitch marker, of course, because it's too heavy, but I don't know. It's useful to have it. Like some scrap yarn if I have to hold some stitches, and sometimes these scrap yarns are just when I, you know, like when I cut the empty bits of the yarn and I just put it in here. And then one single needle stopper that I don't really use because they just fall out, and then a tag I used for a pattern before, a project before, but I don't know what that's for. And then 3 darning needles. One comes with a really large hoop, and 2 like this. And then some stitch marker. Oh, I can't see it. Can I show it to you without dropping it? Yeah. It includes like hoop like this, you can get easily online, And another favorite of mine, like light bulb safety pin, not very safe. And then this one. I think these are really useful. And then next inside the bag is a tape measure I got from home, and it's given by a clinic. I don't know why. Oh, because they want us to measure a body. Nothing special. And a piece of herbs that I just threw in yesterday. It's wilting. It's common rue. Smells so nice. I don't know why I threw it in here. Maybe for good luck, or make the bag smells even better. I don't know. I'm just going to put it back in there. So inside the bag you can see a label for Valerie's brand, Joins Fibre Arts. And then it has 2 pockets here. I feel like I'm actually actively working on the 3rd project, but I don't remember which one it is. So as we speak, I actually have a bucket of my whips next to me, and I'm thinking about going through them with you as a recap of what I've been doing the past year, or a recap of what I haven't been doing in the past year. And if you're a regular viewer again, or if you have watched my last few episodes, you might have seen this project before, because I haven't, like what I said, haven't been knitting a lot, so you would have, you know, known them. So let me show you what the bucket looks like. This is it. What is it? What does it say? Storage large. Okay, I can't read it because in my camera it's like the other way around. My boyfriend bought this originally for laundry, like the clothes that we just wore. I just threw it in there, but I slowly crept into every single storage space for my making stuff, and now it's full of my knitting stuff. And I did not script this. I don't really know what's in there, and I'm just going to go through each one of them from the top to the bottom. The first one is this. Do you remember this bag? I love this bag so much because it has every single family member of my family. My mom, this is me, my dad, my brother, and there's a rabbit. I think the rabbit is my mom's mother, who I've never met. This is from, oh, and I also put a stitch marker here. And then it comes with a tassel when I bought this bag, but then it just came off and I didn't bother to put it back on. This is from GB Rue Sews, probably. GB Rue Sews. I'm going to put the name down below in the description box. Beautiful, beautiful bag because I love the fabric. And I remember it's very, very, oh, it's here. GB Rue Sews. GB Rue Sews. Ooh. So inside, there's 1,000 yen. And Teague's tea, peppermint leaves given to me by the owner of GB Rue Sews. A printed pattern. I've never done this for a long time. Oh my god. And it's Ysolda's Stockbridge. I wish I wrote in the pattern where I stopped because I don't remember where I stopped. Oh my god. Makes it very difficult if I want to pick up again. Inside is a cardigan. Actually, I'm almost there, right? And I did a really, really bad job. I remember I did a very, very bad job with joining the shoulders together because I was doing it in the dark and I thought I can always remove them and do it again in the future. Maybe I should do that. The first step is to remove the connection so that I can do it in a better way. Okay. The yarn is, this is definitely a test for my memory. The yarn is Cumbria fingering. Is it fingering? No. I can't even tell the difference between fingering and the worsted now. Because sometimes, you know, they can be a little, you know, like, it could be a very, very airy fingering that has the effect of being a worsted weight yarn, right? Okay, this is fingering. This is Cumbria fingering from the Fibre Co. or Fibre & Co. And the colorway, I definitely do not remember. And then the needles I was using was 3.5mm Knit Pro, I think. Or drops. This is drops. This is drops. Okay, drops yarn. Oh, the tassels here. Inside the tassels I was talking about, that fell off continuously. But it goes well with the bag. And that's it for my first whip that I'm not actively working on. I'm just going to put the 1,000 yen back in there. The second one is a project bag that I bought. THK, what's THK? Tiny Human Knits. It's a podcast on YouTube as well, and I like Laura a lot. And on this bag, it's a Hufflepuff badge from my boyfriend, and this is a bird badge from my best friend Dorothy. And inside is a skein of Holst Garn Supersoft damask. And inside it's something that I was testing, you know, testing my designing idea. It's a sleeve. Thinking whether I should show you, but it's not very exciting yet anyway, and I'm not even sure, you know, just because you are dipping into design a little doesn't mean you're definitely going to publish the pattern or write a pattern or actually, you know, even finish that garment. But for now, I think it's best that I just keep it to myself. And also I have Knit Necker's Fade, Knit Necker's Wellness Fade in the bag. Smells so nice. Knit Necker Wellness is a brand founded by Fatima. She is a medical doctor, and she's also a knitter. That's it for this one. And the next bag, it feels very hollow, you know, because I think the project is quite small. And it is a drawstring bag by my favorite bag maker, Rosier by Lily, and it has foxes on 2 different directions. It's very light, this one. Okay, inside it's 2 pairs of socks. This is one. This is one of my favorite colorways from Drops Fable sock yarn. And the second one is a Christmas socks that I started a long time ago, supposedly for my dad. To be honest, it's so long and it's so addictive to knit it. I don't even want to stop. I was even thinking about maybe I can make it into a scarf. What do you think? So this is a pair of socks that I knit with this kind of really short circular needles. And one needle is longer than the other, as you can see. This one is shorter. This one, you can't see like this. Ayo! Like this one is shorter and this one is longer. It's given to me by a friend who is also a member of the audience here. I will definitely want to talk more about the needle. and also what this friend sent to me in her parcel. Very, very generous. But like what I said, I'm just taking things from the basket, and I don't remember the details, you know, the name of this needle, for example, and I will definitely talk about it more in depth later. I believe this yarn is given to me by Valerie, and I don't remember the brand, so I can't really produce, but if you're interested, I think I probably put the information on Ravelry before, hopefully. One thing I'm sure about is that this needle is definitely, the brand of this needle is definitely Eddy. And other than that, I don't remember anything, like the specs of this needles. Sorry. And that's it, like two pair of socks in this big bag. Oh, I'm actually running out of yarn for this. For like this pair of socks. What do I do? Did I even knit the heels yet? No. Okay, I think I did a lot of this during the time when I was knitting. I knit lots of socks without the heels because I don't want to think. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to stop the process. I just want to keep knitting on, and I was thinking maybe I should do afterthought heel afterwards. Although I'm not the biggest fan for afterthought heels. But that's, you know, I was doing the best for me at that time. Next bag. Oh, I know what's in there because the project is peeking out a little. So this is another bag. I really love this bag. Slightly heavier than this one on its own. It's another bag by Rosier by Lily from New Zealand. And inside it's a project. It's a sweater. Ooh, it's huge. I don't know when I should stop. So this is a pattern by Locatelli, and the name of the pattern is, I don't remember. I never do. I am going to put the information here. So I knit this holding two skeins of yarn together, and one of them is a skein of mohair yarn, and it is called Drops Kidsilk Unicolor, and the colorway is 08, which doesn't say anything about it, but it's like a bluish color. And I hold it with a skein of Holst gray yarn that you can see I only have this much left. I also posted on Instagram. I say this a lot in this episode, but you know, throughout the time, during the time period I wasn't uploading any video, I do very irregularly updated my Instagram account, so there might be some making and stuff like that. I talked about not being able to find the extra skein of Supersoft yarn, so that I had to put this on hold. But I think yesterday I did find them. Let me show you. Yay! No, but actually I have to check if it's actually that. Yeah, it is the same. I can continue to work on this project then. It's actually quite huge, and I'm not sure if I'm going to follow the pattern completely in terms of the sizing, like whether I want to knit it shorter or whatever. I'm going to compare this to my favorite store-bought sweatshirt so that I can see, you know, because I really like the cutting of that sweatshirt. I really like how it fits on my body, so I will see. I will try to copy that instead of using the original schematics, because in the original pattern of this design, I think it's quite long, and I don't really like long sweater. If it it's long, I want it to be very long, like cover my bum long. I don't want it to be like cover half of my bum long, that kind of length, because it's not very flattering on my body. Oh, and there is another needle stopper in there. Just fell off. It just doesn't work. They don't work. And I'm going to put this inside this bag so that next time when I pick this up, I have yarn to work with. Okay, next. This is another project bag given to me by Valerie, and this is what I was talking about just now, like when she was trying out how to sew different bits. And it's really cute and small, and I can, you know, it's very portable. And inside is a shawl designed by Joji again, because I was crazy enough to think, oh, maybe I should participate in the yearly CAL. You know, Joji does this winter CAL, I think, every year. And if you know me, I'm really bad at participating in CAL because I can never finish a project on time. But yeah, this is supposed to be one of my entry. The pattern is called Inner Peace. I remember this, Inner Peace. And I use Holst Garn for this. And if you can see, it's two different colors, because after this I ran out of yarn and I turned into another color that is also green, but very, 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 very different green. The perfectionist in you might think, oh no, but you know what, I don't care. And when you wear it, you know, the variant is kind of nice. One thing though, Joji's gauge is loose, very loose, and my gauge is not that loose. So I don't know if I actually use a needle bigger. I don't remember. This is 3.25, and I also use a very thin yarn because Supersoft, Holst Garn Supersoft is a fingering yarn, but I always said it feels like a light fingering. Of course, people say it blooms, it can go to, you know, sports weight. To me, it's still more like light fingering to fingering. So knitting it with the thinner yarn definitely produces a way smaller shawl than what is in Joji's picture, but I'm okay with that. I think I just saw a dent here just now. Yes, look. I'm not sure if you can see that. A dent. I don't know when that happened, how. Does it actually affect my knitting? Not really until, I mean, sometimes, you know, when the angle is right, you don't really feel it, but when the angle is not right, you feel it. And it is my favorite needles! It's higher, interchangeable. Anyway. Have you seen this before? Have I shown it in the podcast before? I think I've shown you like the bigger garments before, but I'm not sure about like small shawls and stuff like that. And then I think that's it. I have this thing that I got from Japan when I went to a onsen hotel, like a hot spring hotel. It can be a small project bag, but there isn't anything inside this now. Yes, that is it. These are all the projects that are not given up, because there are definitely projects that I was knitting and I was thinking maybe the best thing to do is to frog it, and they are not in this episode, so yay! You will definitely see more of them in the future. And now I think I am going to stop recording because the sun is right in my face now, if you can see the reflection. And it's about time for me to go out because I have signed up for this supposedly meditation class, which sounds really crazy in its description because it seems that we're going to sample different sounds and then, you know, DJing basically, and listen to binaural something to reach a meditative state, something like that. Like, I don't know, it's not even a yoga. Yeah, hopefully it's fun. That's it for today. But before ending, I really want to show you, because you know it's just something that nobody cares, but I really want to show you because I love it. And the concert I was talking about, right, in Taiwan, this is the entrance ticket. Have you seen anything like this before? Like, usually the entrance ticket is just something, you know, where the printing will go off like in 3 months, right? But this is the entrance ticket, the ticket. Look at that. Okay, that's it for today, and hope to see you again soon. And I do have a lot of ideas, like, you know, what I want to talk about in the podcast, but I'm just really lazy. And I lost my tripod, and I found it, so maybe I can start recording again. All right, hope to see you again soon. And if you enjoyed the content of this episode, please give a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And if you're on Instagram as well, please look for me at basic.stitch.knitting. This podcast is now called Basic Stitch Podcast. But for now, the handling of my Instagram account is still basic.stitch.knitting. Because I don't know how it will change, like whether I'm searchable if you go, like say if you're a new viewer and you go to my first few episodes and you wanted to look me up on Instagram and you Google basic.stitch.knitting when I'm already basic.stitch.making, for example, will you be able to find me? I'm not sure. So for now, I'm still basic.stitch.knitting on Instagram. And that's it. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Really enjoy recording this episode, and I will enjoy the editing as much, and hope to see you guys again soon. Bye. Let me show you something for the tourist.